I am obsessed with model cars. I imagine a lot of you guys are too. And we are in the holy grail of model car workshops. We've been here before, but they've taken things to a whole new level with some brand new cars and also a whole new price. Welcome to Amalgam Collection, the home of £30,000 model cars. You guys loved our original video at this place, so we grabbed any excuse to make the trip back and see what new creations were coming together around the workshop. Amalgam are truly at the top of their game in what I guess you could call the luxury model car market. As well as providing custom models for wealthy customers, they also supply to race teams and OEMs to emulate their own life-size luxury products. In a world where some supercars can cost 6 or 7 figures, these miniatures are simply nice to have optional extras. Amalgam do make that traditional 1:18 scale, but what I really get excited about is their 1:8. And we have a really nice evolution of motorsport here. We've got GT40 in the epic Gulf colours, Lotus 97T, one of Senna's greatest, and then a brand new 296 GT3. For me, out of these three, it is the 97T. It comes from that era of Formula One before the nose cones got really long with big wings on the front. This seems quite stumpy and quite fat at the back with all that turbocharged gubbins in there. It comes from that unbelievable era of 1.5 litre massively turbocharged cars running between 700 and well over 800 horsepower when qualifying. Such a cool but simple design compared to the modern stuff that we'll be looking at in a bit. These guys all come in at around £10,000, and there's a car over there where we're going to explain why these things are so expensive. A lot of the model cars that you'll be used to seeing out in shops, those things are designed really just by looking at pictures and film to come up with the car's design. While Amalgam will buy the license to the car's design, which means they get access to the proper CAD from the manufacturers. So they will have bought the license for this, the Mercedes-AMG One. Now, we're going to take a proper look at this. I've been told I'm allowed to muck about with it. First things first, I'm going to take my cap off, because knowing me, I'll end up headbutting it and causing God knows how much amount of damage. Let's have a look. By purchasing those licenses, the tolerances can come way tighter and the detail just goes through the roof. So I've been told you can click this button and then guide the door up. It'll hinge, very nice. And then if I come around the other side, button, bring it up. There we go. And then there's some engine access panels here. Don't worry, there is an Amalgam member of staff watching my every move. Place this here, and again on this side. This down here. Immediately the textures and the finish on imitation carbon fiber, it is unreal. And then looking in there, I mean, that has been the main problem with this car, the real life car. Merc totally hamstrung themselves saying, let's put the championship winning F1 engine into a road car and getting all those deposits in. It's apparently been an absolute nightmare of a car. So you're probably safer spending the money on this Amalgam one here and just looking at it. What I love about this place is there's detail down in this car that will probably disappear. When it's out of the car, there'll be little coolant tubes and wiring that's way under, tucked underneath the engine block, for example, that you'll never see again unless you somehow deconstruct your model. But you know it's in there. That's where all that money, all that investment, and therefore all that detail just gets poured into these models. It's an amazing thing to look at. This is really cool. I want one, but we can go bigger. Let's up the scale. This puppy is the big boy. A 1/4 quarter scale Red Bull RB18. This thing retails at £30,470. Look at the size of it, it's over a metre long. And as I said in my previous video, we love miniatures because your brain can take in almost all of the information versus the full-size thing. And just looking at this car, the two things that stand out to me are the size of the front wing. This end plate is huge and the wing is so deep. When I think about my era of Formula One, that kind of early 2000s, the wings were much more square and narrow. Well, this one has so much going on and it just keeps going. And then there's the dimensions of the car itself. Modern F1 cars do get a lot of stick for being huge, but when you can take all of it suddenly in, the rear of this car is so hench, it's so wide. I wouldn't quite call it fat because, you know, it's a championship winning car, but it's a brute of a thing, it's huge. Being a massive Red Bull fan myself, I want one of these in my bedroom, living room, bathroom, basically anywhere in my flat. One thing though, last time we were here, just over there in the workshop, there was a whole load of quarter scale Mercedes F1 cars. And now they're doing Red Bull. Are Amalgam just a massive bunch of glory seekers? I've put in the hard work when it comes to being a Red Bull fan. Stewart Grand Prix, Jaguar Formula One, they were awful. And now we're winning. I've earned it. These guys, just a bunch of chancers. Our next model is 1/40th scale, which might seem a bit tiddly compared to the Red Bull we've just looked at, but it all comes down to what vehicle you're originally scaling down. Are you ready for this? I don't think you are. This here is what an SR71 Blackbird looks like at a 40th of its true scale. I've been given the museum curator gloves and my little brush from last time to go to town on this. I'm going to keep to the fuselage because there are some unbelievably intricate bits on this. So I've been told that this aircraft, God, you have to be gentle. This aircraft is built up of 3D printed resin sections that are joined together, and then all the little metallic details have been hand milled. In terms of weathering, this SR71, they've done it panel by panel, going through pictures from back in the day and analysing where the heat has interacted with the body of the plane. So these things go up to over Mach 3 and would get incredibly hot. So you can actually see where, you know, it's through the black, there's kind of these silver sections on the leading edges mostly, where things would just get so hot that it would start to change colour.
There has never been a cooler shape than this ever created by man. In case you don't know what this is, we've done another video that talks about this amazing spy plane. We'll put a link above to that video. To put it simply, it was the successor to the U-2 spy plane and was designed to fly high enough and quick enough to outrun any Soviet missiles, all while taking pictures of stuff the Americans were interested in.
Now, this retails at £39,750, 40 grand. But considering a real SR71, back in the day, they say it cost about $24 million, which these days is about $250 to $300 million. Bargain? To get some of these super detailed shots in this video, we can't just use a normal camera lens, so we've got this thing. It's called a probe lens. It looks like it should be on a sniper rifle, not attached to a camera. It can get right in there, and it's even got LED lights around the lens in case it's right in a nuke that needs some more light. If you want to see more about this and more about how this video's come together, subscribe to our second channel, More DRIVETRIBE, where you will see a behind the scenes video from today. Some even more cooler stuff. It would be far too easy to look at this Spitfire setup here and say it's just a fancy airfix, because that would just be purely disrespectful to the work that's going into this one right here. Look at this. So, this is a 1:16 V12 Merlin engine that will soon be part of an entire Spitfire model. Harking back to what I said earlier, the amount of detail that's gone into this that will then be lost in the model once it's been constructed is out of this world. There's always tiny little, I imagine they're brass fuel lines going all round the engine, coolant pipes, even the bolt patterns on the head of the V12. It's absolutely stunning. And I love this sort of chopstick setup they've got going on here. All of this will soon come together to form a full Spitfire. How much I want to be the customer that receives this, knowing that this amount of work has gone into it. Stunning. We are now at what I'm going to call the weathering station. Toby, what's your job title? Are you called the weatherman?
No, so I'm the senior model maker at Amalgam.
That's a better job title.
Yeah, I have been weathering models for about 5 or 6 years. It's sort of a new thing that's come along where we're sort of pitting them more to historic times and races.
Yeah, so customers can pay a premium to have their cars weathered as if it's mid-race or
Exactly.
even finished the race.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're looking at this spotlessly clean GT40. I can't believe you're about to just hand paint it, but yeah, show me how it's done.
Yeah, so it's quite daunting, taking a paintbrush to a clean model. A lot of it, obviously, these cars are 24 hours in Le Mans, so they're going to be picking up a lot of dirt along the way. These models, when we finish them, they'll be glossed and polished to get this perfectly reflective finish. What we'll have to do is knock this down and sort of start bringing a base layer onto it.
Okay.
So it's a very tedious job, but we will start essentially brushing on, so it's like a water-based paint. We'll brush it on, essentially we're just trying to make mark making at this stage. And we're trying to create realistic, scaled marks, which we could just start building up a base.
So you streak it like it's just gone down the multi
Exactly, so a lot of it obviously is directional. This is sort of the first technique, which will just be mainly directional brushwork.
And it will collect on edges.
Exactly, so that's the whole thing we're trying to do is we're wiping it on, we're letting it sort of sit on the surface, and then we're sort of picking it and dragging it off and letting it hit those sort of front edges and leading edges, which as it's going around the racetrack at 100 miles an hour, it's going to be splatting bugs and all the debris along the way.
And looking behind us, we've got a kind of mid-finished one, and then you said this one was about 70% finished. I cannot believe that is just this watered-down black paint. I mean, that looks like rubber and crud, and I can't believe that just by doing that, you end up with that.
No, exactly. So it took a couple of days to weather a model to bring it from this box fresh addition to a fully weathered model. And yeah, it's just a case of we start with water-based pigments, mainly blacks and browns, and bring up that hue, and it all determines on the condition of the race, whether it's a wet race, dry race. The actual racetrack itself will depend on the colours and pigments we use. Yeah,
so you can go into that details. I'll say it's like a dusty track.
Exactly, yeah. So if it's dusty, we'll go more harder on the sort of lighter pigments.
So cool.
And then we'll do different effects. So with the dustier ones, we'll put in more matting agents. We'll give it overall dustings to really take the gloss out of it.
Okay, before we started filming, you did say I could have a go. I
did, yeah.
I think you're mad.
This,
This is like a 15 grand model.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take a paintbrush to it.
Yeah, no, be my guest. So.
How do I not mess this up?
It's fine. Right, so what you want to do is you want to wet your brush.
Yep.
Then you want to pick up a tiny bit of paint.
Yeah. Is that tiny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck it on here. Let's make sure we've got so add a bit more water to this.
Yeah, plenty.
Yeah, that's looking good. And then you want to be streaking it from the front of the car to the rear. That's it.
Like that.
Yeah. And what I tend to do is pick up a rag after, and then you want to be dragging it further back and just trying to pick out and sort of thin down these marks.
I just feel like I'm smearing.
Don't worry, everything is reversible, so it's okay.
Good.
At this stage, anyway.
Otherwise, I'd want to be insured before I did any of this. So the actual car paint that we are painting onto, that's not just some model car paint.
No, this is 2-pack car paint. This will be the exact paint which they use, the car manufacturer will use. So we use the exact same paint formulas, and it will be treated and painted, and we paint them and bake them the same way they paint the real car.
Cool. Well, that's enough for me. It stresses me out enough. I'll let you finish. But yeah, it's a stunning job you do. I can't believe that's only 70%. That looks done.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint with these ones, and it's really picking up the details which give it that real depth.
I think the coolest thing, which you explained to me earlier, so Toby's working off of historic pictures. We've got a big one here of it in the pits, which is exactly being mirrored behind us there. But they've also got this picture where someone is in the pits, one of the mechanics, putting his hand on the front wing, and you were saying you're planning to paint in that handprint.
Exactly, yeah.
The car. We've actually got an example here. Look at that. That little handprint. How'd you do that?
Yeah, so with the release work, we'll get all of the paints on, and then, like we said, this one, it was finished, went through the pits, we had all the engineers and all the racers on top of it, and it's essentially that release work. So we're essentially then cleaning back off the work we've done to show you that sort of clean handwork.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Again, if you were in any doubt as to why these models are so valuable, it's stuff like that. And yeah, like look at this one behind. You can see, there's a mechanic's been having a go at that rear wing and stuff, the rear bodywork there, taking it off, and it's just so cool. Do you have one of the best jobs in the world?
I mean, some say this, yeah.
Or do you say senior model maker?
Yeah, that's my role.
That's going to be my new goal. I'm going to write in my journal when I get home. One day, I want to be a senior model maker at Amalgam. Toby, I've just seen you open that door, and I thought you were just going to sort of grab it and pull it open, but...
No.
Is there a mechanism in there?
Yeah, so this one we do actually have a mechanism, a working door mechanism.
Oh, look at that. And you see the little pin just in there.
So you can see the actual hinge mechanism and the release on this door. And then same, we've actually, how it would be on the actual car itself.
Oh, no.
Where we have a split pin.
No. Oh, look at that. And that's gonna,
And then this will leave a back, just like the real one.
Wow. Do you not fear you're gonna have just like a spasm of the shoulder and just swipe something off these models?
Yeah, we used to have that when I first started, and then, handling them day in, day out, you sort of got to get past that stage.
Has there been a day, surely if you work in here for a decade, you're just gonna nonchalantly walk past the table one time and knock a 40 grand SR71 onto the floor?
Yeah, that's definitely, some things like that have happened. Luckily, it's in the right place where we can resolve it, so it's not the end of the world.
Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna look at this for the next 20 minutes, so that's okay. Can you
Please
work on
be my guest.
Else?
Yeah, no worries.
Cool, thank you. The level of input a customer can have into his model is astounding. Just looking at these worksheets here. If I just read off this first bit, it's about the oil cooler inlet on a Porsche 917. The screen covering the oil cooler inlet should be mounted behind the thin metal frame inside the oil cooler inlet, because at the beginning of the race, it was ill-fitting, and by the end it was deformed. I mean, it just goes on and on. Minute detail, one of my favourite bits, which Toby showed me here. A Porsche 917 famously came with a key. There was no tricky start procedure, it was just in and turn. There should be a key with 7 holes drilled in it in the ignition switch. The head of the key should be at an angle. That level of detail, that is only so that when that customer gets that model, he can see that that key has the right amount of holes drilled in it. No one else will know, but when he gets it, he knows it's there. That's what it's all about. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I couldn't resist coming back to Amalgam. And if you guys would like to see more miniature car content or miniature whatever content, I'm going to set you guys a task. I'm going to put a picture of me and that Red Bull up on my Instagram, which is Mike_Fernie. And I want you guys to find that post and comment with the car you would want made in scale form in this detail. Also, if you want to check out the Amalgam website, we'll put the link in the description below. You could spend hours browsing the different cars and planes that they make. We are about to set off on our own miniature project fairly soon. I think you guys are really going to like it, so stay tuned for that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DRIVETRIBE.